Welcome to Memphis Like Gas and Water's Power Up Memphis. I'm your host, Gail Jones-Carson, the Director of Corporate Communications. The aim of Power Up Memphis is to take you, our customers, on an inside tour of MLGW so that we can share our programs and operations with you. And by doing so, we can all better understand how we function as your utility provider. Today, my guest is Callan Hayes, who is the Assistant Manager in Systems Operations. And today we're going to be discussing Memphis Like Gas and Water's storm restoration process. We have many customers who wonder how our process works, particularly at the time of storms. So, Callan, could you just start out with telling us the process for our storm restoration at Memphis Like Gas and Water, how we determine who gets turned on first, and how that process works?
Sure. So, after the storm hits, we have automated sensors that tell us exactly how many people have been affected by the storm. We get a sense for how many circuits and how many substations are damaged. So it kind of gives us an idea of the impact of the storm to the county. And so key people within, the upper management that work in our electric crisis teams, they're alerted immediately to the magnitude of how many customers, how many places have been damaged. And, we make a determination right away, do we start bringing in outside crews to assist us? Do we need to activate our crisis team? And once those decisions are made, we start working from the circuit level at the substations down to the single customer at the homes, because that's the way that you restore the most number of customers per restoration, per fix. When a customer looks at that public outage map, there's two key numbers. There's a number in the lower left-hand corner that says outages, and actually that means that's the number of places where our system got damaged. Okay. And then on the right side of that, it says customers affected, and so that's the number of customers who are out based upon the number of places that got damaged.
Okay. So say, for example, when a circuit is out, we know how many customers are impacted on that circuit.
Yes.
And then, but what about when customers call in? How does that affect our number of customers who are without power?
So the way our outage restoration software works, it's a combination of two things. Okay. There are automatic sensors that can tell when substations have been damaged, when key circuits are out, when large devices that impact lots of customers get damaged. We get automatic signals that tell us those things are damaged. Okay. But from a more a level closer to the customer, we rely on the customers to call in to the outage hotline number, that 544-6500 number, and based upon them calling into that number, we can recognize, based upon their phone number, what their address is, and that tells our outage system that customer's out, this customer's out. That's why it's critical for them to call in, because all those locations feed into like a logistical program that figures out, well, I know these devices are out because these 3 people called in, or I know that this is just one person who's out because they're the only one that called in and nobody else around them called in. So it assumes that they have a single customer outage. So it's a combination of two things.
Okay, so I know that in corporate communications, we make it a priority to inform customers to never assume that Memphis Like Gas and Water knows that your services are out, that you must call in. So, but if our systems detect it, so why is it so really critical that they call in? But if they have a smart meter, do they need to call in as well?
Yes. So the smart meter program hasn't been fully implemented. Okay. It hasn't been fully deployed. There are still some people out there who don't have a smart meter yet. And then in addition to that, there are a decent amount of people who opted out. So our message is always going to have to be, you need to call in, because we can't assume who's got the smart meter and who opted out. But like I was saying, that some devices can detect high-level things that are damaged, but when you get closer to people's homes, like you're talking about specific streets, neighborhoods, those are devices like transformers and fuses. The only way that our system knows to be able to predict what's damaged is based upon the phone phone calls that come in from customers letting us know that they have an outage. So it infers, well, I know that these 3 or 4 people called in, they're all attached to this transformer, so we can assume that transformer's damaged, or all 4 of them wouldn't be calling in. It needs it needs those phone calls to come in to be able to use that logic to figure that out.
Okay, so you mentioned a fuse, and the reason I bring that up is because many times some of our customers think a fuse is like a fuse in a house, in a little box in a house or on the side of a house. But that's not the kind of fuse that you're talking about, is it?
No, fuses, that they're used to limit the amount of damage on our overhead system. So you get, go ahead.
And that's up in the air, right? It's on the line?
Well, there are overhead fuses and there are underground fuses as well. So when a branch or a tree falls on a line and causes a fault, we don't want the current to surge down the line and damage a lot of other electrical components. So some fuses may prevent that from occurring. They'll open up. They get damaged by trees, limbs, whatnot.
But how long? It doesn't really take long to restore a fuse, but it may take a while to get to there because it affects a smaller number of customers?
The overhead fuse could be on a pole that got completely knocked over by a tree.
So then we have to replace the pole, the line, and the fuse.
It's almost like it doesn't matter what component in the electric overhead system you're talking about, you can't assume how long it's going to take to fix anything, because a single customer outage, it could be the result of a pole that had the transformer that had their line serving just their house got knocked over. That's a long fix. That is setting a new pole, or someone's line could just have gotten knocked down from their weatherhead. That's a pretty quick, simple fix.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it, because a lot of people think just if you got a pole down, you gotta just be able to throw the pole up and it shouldn't take long.
No, it doesn't matter what device you're talking about. Maybe we could restore a circuit in less than an hour. Another circuit might take 2 days to get back on, because maybe that circuit, 7 poles got knocked down and tore up. It takes a long time to reset all those poles, restring all that primary overhead line. So you can't assume any device takes X amount of time. That's why it's very difficult for us to say we know exactly when everybody's going to come on based upon knowing what components are damaged, because you don't know exactly what type of damage is leading to that piece of equipment being damaged.
Oh, and then you have some of our customers who point out, well, you all have trucks all on the next street working, so why isn't my power on? Because sometimes what they're working on doesn't necessarily impact them. It may be impacting customers on another street.
Right. So one circuit feeds a couple of neighborhoods, another circuit feeds another couple of neighborhoods. Nobody knows, except for us, how the circuits run down the line. So you could have one side of the street be on circuit, 1, 2, 3, and customers on the other side of the street be on circuit 1, 2, 4, and that's why they might see their lights come on, but even though they're close proximity to each other, they could be on a totally different feed, a totally different circuit from those people. So that's why you can see people, their power come back on and yours not.
Okay, so one of the concerns that we try to address on a regular basis is overhead lines versus underground lines. And many people feel that we should put more of our lines underground and that we will have fewer outages. I do need to point out that I've been informed that it would cost $3.5 billion, not million, but billion, to put our whole system underground. So could you give us the differences overhead versus underground?
Sure. So underground, there's obviously there's cable that runs underground in conduit, and it has a life expectancy, and it can get damaged not just as easily as overhead lines can, because overhead lines are more susceptible to tree limbs. There's a lot more trees than there are problems underground. But we have quite a few underground faults on cable just like we do, overhead damage on overhead lines. And it actually takes longer to find a fault on an underground cable because you can't see what, where you are and what's going on. It takes a little while to figure out exactly. It's kind of like having a leak on a water pipe leading to your house. You got to hire a plumber to figure out exactly where the leak is coming from.
So it could take a little longer to find what caused the outage when you have underground.
When you have underground, it will take longer to find because you can't see.
Yeah.
When lines, on poles, you can look up and go, oh yeah, that tree branch fell across there and ripped this stuff down, so I know exactly what I need.
So it's not the panacea that people think that it is.
No, it's not. It's not.
So, okay, Callan. So some of our customers are concerned about some areas being restored quicker than other areas, and they want to think, some people think that we give preferential treatment or priority to some areas in Shelby County versus other areas. Mm-hmm. How are those areas determined for restoration?
We give preferential treatment to the area that got hit the hardest by the storm. Wherever the storm went and whatever it tore up the worst, that's where we're going to pour the majority of our resources.
Which, like in 2017, a lot of damage was in Frazier and North Memphis, so we put a whole lot of resources in that area. Mm-hmm. And it's not the area that many people think that we give priority to first. Right.
And it's not to say, we're not going to take every resource we have and send them all to the one area that got hit the hardest, because that's unfair. We want to be restoring power throughout the county, mm-hmm. but it is safe to say, let's say an area that only makes up 2 or 3% geographically of the entire county mm-hmm. got hit the hardest. There's more customers out there than anywhere else. I mean, it's not a stretch to say that maybe half of our forces could be in that small little area, while the other half of our resources are spread out across the other 98% of the county working on things. Mm-hmm. So when we say we're concentrating our resources there, that's what we're talking about. We are putting the majority of the overhead line crews, troubleshooters, outside crews in that area, but we're not going to ignore people who have outages in other areas. Mm-hmm. But we are going to have the bulk of the resources focused on where the hardest hit areas are.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that with us and explaining that to our viewers. And we're going to have to wrap up. Is there any last points or tips that you would like to share with our viewers before we leave?
Sure. You cannot call in too many times. Okay. Calling the outage hotline number is the best way to make sure that we know that you have an outage.
And what is that number?
It's 544-6500. Okay. So that's the first thing I'd like to point out. Your lights are off and your neighbor's lights come on. Good time to call back in and report it again to make sure that we still have it. There's nothing wrong with the people on the other side of the street. Their lights come on and yours are still off. Call back in. You can't call in enough. The second thing is you are not going to get your power restored any faster if you circumvent the system on the automatic dialer and try to talk to somebody live, because lots of people will call the emergency number because they think if they speak to a live operator that they are going to get a higher priority. It just ties up our operators. They're not going to get put any higher in the queue, priority wise. So I just encourage people to use the 544-6500 number because that's the fastest way to get your power restored. And lastly, it's important to make sure that their phone number is correct in our database. Exactly. Because, some older folks who maybe signed up a long time ago with a landline phone, that's the same phone number associated with their account. And the way that our software works, when people call in, it recognizes the ID of the number and it automatically ties it to an address and a customer. And that's what helps us know who's out and who's not out. If you haven't updated that number, if you don't, so it needs to be people's cell, the main person who's going to call in the outage, whatever cell number that is, that should be the primary number associated with the account, so that when they call in to the 544-6500 number, we're going to know exactly who that is and have the right address and the right customer. So it's really simple to call into the customer center and make sure that we have the correct number that you would use most of the time to report an outage. Callan, I really want to thank you for, again, sharing
this most helpful, beneficial information to our customers, and I'm hoping that our customers will remember some of this information and understand that Memphis Light Gas and Water, we work 24/7 around the clock to restore outages for our customers as quickly and safely as possible. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to Memphis Light Gas and Water's Power Up Memphis. I'm Gail Jones Carson. My guest today is Joe Bird, who is the manager of customer metering and billing. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. So glad to be here, Gail.
Thank you. So we're going to be discussing today some of MLGW's payment plans for our customers. And one of the things I do want to point out is that out of all the research that we've done in Memphis Light Gas and Water, we have learned that Memphis Light Gas and Water has some of the most liberal and beneficial payment plans for our customers, and we are very proud of that. One of the things I ask customers to do is, if they know that their services are going to be disconnected for non-payment, please call us, please contact us, and we will work with our customers on a payment plan. But just please call before you disconnect it, because we got a plan for you that will help you in your situation. So, Joe, let's start talking about some of the various plans that we have that's beneficial to our customers.
All right. So let's begin talking about with the hazardous weather program.
Okay.
That's a good program where our customers are allowed to, whether they are disconnected, if their services have been disconnected, and they need to restore their power due to extreme heat, or in the wintertime it's cold outside and we want to make sure that everybody has lights. So we offer this program to assist customers where they can come into the office, and we require at least a $250 payment no matter what the balance is.
Okay. So these are customers that have outstanding balances. Their services are already terminated.
Yes.
And under normal circumstances, without this program, how much do they have to pay to have their services restored without this?
They would have to pay their balance at least down to the minimum payment,
Which is $199.
Yes.
So if we don't have any program in place for extreme temperatures, if a customer's services are terminated for non-payment, they have to pay their balance down to $199, and then their services will be restored. However,
Yes.
with this program, customers they pay $250.
$250.
And then their balance is spread over
a certain period of time,
Okay.
Depending on how long that services may have been disconnected.
Okay.
And we allow the customers to return their services back on,
Okay.
and then we bill them over a certain amount of time that balance that's owed to MLGW.
Okay.
So all the customers have to do is to come into one of our MLGW offices, because they do have to complete the paperwork
Okay.
that we require them to fill out and agree to the program.
Okay.
So because, again, if they don't keep the agreement, then we do disconnect the services.
Okay, what are the eligibility requirements?
Well, basically, it's the customer of record that has to have the services. They must agree to pay the $250 payment, okay, and then they must agree to keep that payment current for the time that they're on this program.
Okay.
And other than that, those are the requirements for the customer coming in. We will come out, reconnect the services, and bill the customer the monthly charges.
Okay, so once you take that balance and you divide it over X number of months,
Right.
say that monthly payment is $200 that they agreed to pay, but that $200 will be in addition to whatever new charges they have, because they're using energy now.
That is correct.
So you got an energy bill plus your outstanding balance that you agreed to pay.
correct.
So there's two bills
Right.
that's combined per month. So I just want customers to know that you still
Have to pay your current utility bill and that pass-through payment. And
Exactly.
we explain all of that in the agreement when the customer comes in. We let them know that they must pay the current charge that are going to be on the bill, as well as the installment plan that we are setting up for the customer.
But this is something that's beneficial to our customers whose services have been off and they may not have the funds to get the money, get their services restored. So
That is
this is
correct.
one way these payment plans will help them have utility services, especially during extreme cold temperatures and extreme hot temperatures.
Right. And this program also works if your balance, you have services and you need some assistance.
Oh,
then we
okay.
also offer this same program
For
to
people-
customers
Oh, great, okay.
who are on and they need some assistance during the extreme weather period. So,
Okay, but this program only applies when it's very cold or extremely hot.
That is correct. And you
Okay.
will be given all the details when you enter into one of our credit offices to sign up for the program.
Okay, so let's talk about another program that's extremely beneficial for our customers and very popular for our customer use.
Let's talk about budget billing.
Okay.
Our customers, we have quite a few customers that call us and want to be on budget billing because they budget and they want to pay a certain amount of their bill each month. So we have the budget billing process. The customers can call into our office and we will look at their account. We have to analyze your account to determine what that budget billing amount is going to be. The budget billing amount is determined by your previous 12-month usage history at the premise where you live.
Okay.
If you just moved into the premise, we normally ask you to wait until you've had at least 6 months of service so that we can determine what kind of consumption is going through the meters before we can determine what your monthly balance or bill is going to be each month.
Because someone else who lived there before may have different kinds of usage
Than you would have.
Exactly.
You know, now we can base it on that, and then we can
Adjust.
re-evaluate it after you've been there a year, and it could go up, it could go down based on your usage.
Okay, so when do you true up?
In March.
In March.
Every year in March, we reevaluate the account. Let's say that we set your budget billing amount at $250, okay? And then in March, the next March, we're going to look at what your consumption was during that period. And one thing I want customers to understand, the amount that you're paying for budget billing is not your actual usage amount. It's an amount that we've set up that will tell us basically that you can pay this amount of money each month. Your consumption could be higher, it could be lower. So each March we go back and we look at that and we reevaluate and tell you that this year was $250, next year may be $300. It could go down to $199.
Okay.
It all depends on your usage and how you're using your consumption. We also monitor the accounts.
Okay.
So if it happens to be that we did it too low or we estimated or evaluated it too high, we will readjust in the middle, but we will notify the customer by mail to say, hey, we looked at your account and we have parameters set that if it's way too high, we need to readjust in the middle of the process to let you know so that when we do re-up in March, you won't be having a large bill or a large refund.
Okay, so let's go into another program while we have
Okay,
a few minutes left.
we have the holiday bill break that happens during the winter. Every December 15th through January 14th, we allow customers to carry a balance of $399 during that holiday time period. A lot of customers appreciate that program. It's sort of different than what we used to do where we didn't cut off at all.
Okay.
And what it did was allow customers to run up large bills and then they were not able to pay them.
And then they'd have to come out on the back end and have to get in the payment plan right afterwards, because even though we encourage customers to pay something on their bills, many
Typically
customers did not. So when the program was over or the time frame was over for that particular program, they had 2 or 3 months of bills, and so we needed to help them with the payment plan.
Right. So with the $399, we now allow you to carry just the $399 balance on the bill, and you can do that from December 14th through from December 15th through January 14th each year.
Okay.
Now, for our seniors, though, we also have the winter moratorium.
Okay.
And it starts every November 1st. Seniors, you must be 60 years of older. You must be 60 years of older, and you must be on an income that you receive once a month or however you get your income in. And this program allows you not to be disconnected from December 1st through March 1st of the next year. So no matter what happens, if you've signed up for the program, we've approved you for the program, your services will not be disconnected during that 90-day period. However, in March, whatever is due would be due. The same process, the customer has to come in, they must sign up for the program, they must agree to all the stipulations of the program in order for them to remain on the program.
So do we have a lot of seniors take advantage of this program?
We have quite a few seniors that call us every November wanting to sign up for that program. It helps them with their budgets, or just helps them get along through the winter months.
Okay, so do we want to have another program?
Yes, we have the On Track program.
Yeah, let's talk about On Track.
On Track is a great program. It's for our low-income customers. This program also helps us to help our customers budget their monies. Because in order to be a part of this program, you must agree to attend a financial seminar. And we base this program, if your services are disconnected, we look at what your balance is, but we also have to do an assessment of your income to determine if you're going to be able to pay a utility bill, an installment payment, and your current bill. So then once you are approved for all of that, you have to attend. We have a seminar that's usually set up on a Saturday. You come in, we do the budget process. Once you approve, we sign you up for the On Track program. You must keep the stipulations of the agreement, make your payments every month, and typically we do it for at least 36 months. It could go longer depending on what your balance was on your previous account.
Which is a good period of time. That's about 3 years versus sometimes you may be on a 30-day payment plan or a 6-month payment plan, but we spread this over about 3 years if depending on...
And longer if possible, depending on what the balance was and how their income flows. We want to look at that income to determine if they're going to be able to pay a utility bill with their current monies and still be able to make rental payments, buy groceries, all those things. That's part of the financial seminar. So that's a great program for our customers as well.
Okay, so Joe, we only have about a minute left. What do you want to leave with our customers that will be really helpful and beneficial to them?
What I want to really leave with our customers is we want our customers to pay attention to their utility bills. Okay, a lot of customers call, they move from one place to another and they get a bill that says zero balance, right? And what we want you to do is look at that bill to determine, is that bill for your current address or was it for your previous address? But also in looking at your bill every month, it helps you to understand what you're using and it helps you to manage your budget so that you will not go overboard, so to speak. One of the other things I would like to leave with our customers is if you don't have one, get involved or learn about a program with thermostat, which helps you manage how you are heating or cooling your home.
And I have a program with thermostat. It cuts off or lowers the temperature when I leave home. It comes on when I get home. It changes when I go to sleep. So it has been very beneficial for my budget for my utility costs. So,
and that's one of the purposes that we ask you to look at your bill each month and know what you're using. And also pay attention to if we say your bill has been estimated or not, that's the time that you want to call in and find out what happened as to why that bill was estimated so that you'll have the right information going forth to the next month.
Okay, and if your bill is way lower than you're accustomed to or way higher than you're accustomed to, please call in. That means something's going on and we can help you figure out what's going on with your bill. Joe, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing this most valuable information about our payment programs that we have available for our customers. We are there for our customers to help them with their utility consumption as well as ways to help them pay for their utility consumption. Thank you so much.